President Muhammadu Buhari meets the rescued Kankara boys at the Katsina Government House after the initial clamor for the president to have visited the school in the aftermath of the abduction. And now that the boys are back, there is renewed hope for the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. And tonight, we'll make a case for the still missing Chibok girls and Leah. What are their chances? Hello and welcome. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Kayode Kikulu. What a week, right? Well, on this day 1 week ago, gunmen said to be bandits attacked government-signed secondary school Kankara in Katsina State and abducted hundreds of students. It was unimaginable, and for some people, it still is. That's when you think about the magnitude of such operation, having to forcefully move 344 teenagers from their school at night into a forest. As you'll expect, there were countless questions as to how this happened, who is responsible, what do we do next, who should be doing what, and right in the middle of that was the elephant in the room. The president was in Katsina State at the time of the attack. In fact, he was about 200 kilometers, that's less than a 3-hour drive from the scene of the attack. So much happened from that moment till this point. So let's do a quick recap of how we got here. So the boys were abducted late Friday at about 10 p.m. Well, the attackers were said to have arrived on motorcycles. They killed a policeman on duty and proceeded to the hostels, from where they took the children on the motorcycles and also walked some of the length, according to reports we got from the Defense Ministry. The next day, word got out, that's early Saturday, and the Inspector General of Police ordered the deployment of additional operational and investigative assets to support the ongoing search and rescue operations, but that was in partnership with the military. So fast forward to Sunday, we saw visibly distraught parents of the abducted students staging a protest and demanding the rescue of their children. The official number of missing children was put at 333. Incidentally, on the same day, a federal government delegation visited, and the Minister of Defense promised that this was going to be a very simple mission and that the boys will be released in a few hours. In fact, a tweet from the presidency also said the military, supported by air power, had located the bandits' enclave at Zangopala Forest in Kankara, and there had been exchange of fire. That was Sunday. On Monday, the governor, that's Governor Aminu Masari, met with President Muhammadu Buhari in his hometown Dora, and he briefed him on the rescue mission. Afterwards, it was revealed that contact had been made with the abductors. Then Tuesday, we saw neighboring Zamfara ordering closure of schools. States like Kano, Kaduna, Jigawa also following suit. And on that same day, Boko Haram was said to have claimed responsibility for the attack in an audio message. Then on Wednesday, Governor Masari revealed that negotiations were ongoing with Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association helping with the talks. He was speaking on Politics Today that night. And the next day, a video emerged and it showed some of the boys begging for their release. Now, that video was reportedly released by Boko Haram, who claimed responsibility yet again. But on Thursday, at about 9 p.m., the government of Katsina announced that the boys were on their way back to safety, and that's following fruitful negotiations. 344 of them, the government said. And now, today, President Muhammadu Buhari met the boys, and here's what the president told them, speaking in Hausa.
Ina fata a wannan makaranta da kuke zababbiya ce ta ilimin kimiyya, ku mai da hankali, shine zamani, ba wanda ya karanta tarihi ba ko turanci. A waɗanda suka yi kimiyya su ne za su fi samun aiki a nan gaba. Ina fata wannan abin da ya same ku yi ƙoƙari ku manta da shi, ku dukufa akan neman ilimi. Daga gida nake yanzu. Ni mutanen Filato wato mun ci muna wasa da su mu Fulani.
So let's get into our conversation tonight. While the mission to rescue the abducted students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, has succeeded, well, so many issues remain, and they all revolve around security. Our guest tonight on the program is Mrs. Obi Ezekwesili, the co-convener Bring Back Our Girls, the former Minister of Education, the former Vice President at the World Bank. Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us on Politics Today. Well, the boys are back now. Let me begin by asking you, just how did you react seeing the boys in some semblance of safety compared to what we saw in that video which was released by the abductors? How did you feel?
I was quite pleased with it. I was very, very happy for the children and for their parents. You don't want to see your fellow citizens in this situation of grief that we saw parents exhibit. It took me all the way back to 2014 and our Chibok girls and their families. And so seeing those boys really gave me a lot of joy. That's something that any human being should feel concerning people put in harm's way unnecessarily by their own government.
I know you have consistently criticized the president's handling of security. But now with the release of these boys, would you commend the government, at least in this light?
Well, one thing I don't do in life is to pretend. I cannot even pretend any form of commendation for this government. It is an abysmal failure. How can such number of children be left in an insecurity-prone state in this country without any form of signaling that could show that that massive thing was going to happen to them? How was it that governmental systems did not even alert anyone that children had been carted off from their school at that level? We asked the same questions when Chibok girls were taken. So, for us to congratulate a government that created a problem and then said it solved it, we shouldn't be doing that. Look, this society should learn how to hold people to public accountability. The president should be disgusted with what happened, not commending himself. What's the clapping for? What is it for? Those children were put in harm's way, and now you say you've rescued them? Oh, maybe the president sent the young men on an excursion to terrorists, and now he probably has a lifeline to terrorists, so they can release children at will to him. He needs to tell us exactly what happened with the Kankara case. There is a problem here. This country should not be taken for a ride by President Buhari and his government. This is very unbecoming. And the whole world is laughing at us. They think that we're jokers. Did you see, many countries didn't even bother to show that anything had happened in our country because they felt like, who are these people? What are they doing to themselves? So let nobody ask anybody to clap. The only thing we should do is thank God for those children and their parents. They shouldn't, do this to little children. They shouldn't.
Now, just to get clarity on a comment you made earlier, when you said that this problem was created by the government, this government, in what context were you speaking?
Look, Katsina State is a state where we know that a lot of criminality and terrorist actions have been going on. How can you have, they said that there is a military outpost some 60 kilometers away from that school. How can this kind of a thing happen to those children in a state that's vulnerable to terrorist incursion? And there is nothing. Those kids were just there on their own, lying down there waiting to be carried. And how do you carry them? And for the length of time that you supposedly said they were taken, and nothing happened until you now reported they were taken. And by the way, remember that the same presidency said to us, oh no, only 10 children are missing. What are we supposed to believe? There's something wrong. Something is really wrong. And I mean, if people don't want to say it, oh, trust me, I will say it. Because it really has never mattered to me who is in office. The issue of governance is important. And we must be, totally clear in our minds that when it is not being done well, our voices must speak up. What is wrong with us as citizens? Why do we find comfort in pretending that a lie is true and that truth is lie? I'm not going to be part of it. I'm sorry.
Well,
the government has to explain to us what happened on the Kankara matter. They must tell us what happened. They haven't told us. There is too much murkiness around this. There's a lot of monkey business that they need to explain to us. Is this government trying to shore up its credibility by pretending that an abduction happened and then they got the children back? This would be too, heinous a thing to do to young children.
Well, Dr. Ezekwesili,
you be more transparent. This government must be transparent. I hold them to transparency.
Well, I recall that you aspired to be president in the 2019 elections. That's before you stepped down. And you called it Project Rescue Nigeria. You had this manifesto that you put out, and you talked about various issues. But now that we're discussing security, let's just get some insights from that manifesto. Just what plan did you have regarding security for the country at that time?
Well, one plan certainly was to take the Nigerian military to its glory days. What you see right now is that the president is running the Nigerian military as though it were his personal, cabinet. That's not the way you run the military of a country. This military got us a lot of laurels abroad. This military was the toast of West Africa and beyond even West Africa, in places like Sudan and other parts of the world. What happened to this military? Why did this military become a military that now, just watches over the president and his ilk? Why should we have a military institution that's eroded in professionalism, in esprit de corps? Why should we have that? The Nigerian military is well able to build back to an institution that can protect this country, that can serve as the buffer for the territorial integrity of our country. We must get back the professionalism of the military. The second thing is that intelligence, because in the basic scheme of life, we normally say that prevention is better than cure. And that's why our intelligence system needs to be upgraded. It needs to be at the frontier of technology. Everything that we need in order to intensify our capacity to do internal security well, to do external security well. All of the collaborations and partnerships that are necessary at sub-regional, regional, and global levels, we need to activate them. And we need to have the credibility of intention and purpose, and have the kind of capacity within all of these institutions in order to engender trust on the side of partners that want to work with us. We lack all of that. So today, what the Nigerian military, what the intelligence arm, exists to do is really to do the bidding of the president. It's a regime, it's a regime security situation that we now have. We don't have the interest of the country at heart in the way that the president is running his office as commander-in-chief of the armed forces. I would do something different as a commander-in-chief of the armed forces, because you don't live for yourself. You live for the country that you presented yourself to say you want to lead. Right now, the president is the most selfish Nigerian that I know of. This country does not matter to the president. It is President Buhari that matters to President Buhari. And that should not be so. We should call it out. We should really call him out for this.
Well, Dr. Ezekwesili, I'd like to just put it out there that some of the statements you make are made entirely by you. I would like to be careful making factual statements. But here's what we'll do. We'll go on a break.
Learn to stop being afraid.
Well, Dr. Ezekwesili, you have to put out facts out there. Well, we're due for a break, Dr. Ezekwesili. We're due for a break. We need to go on a break. We would listen to you, but we're out of our time. Doctor, I'm sure you appreciate that we're bound by time, but we'll go on a break, and when we return, we'll talk about some specifics also, especially regarding the Chibok girls and Leah Sharibu. So please stay with us. Hey, welcome back to the program. Let's rejoin Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, co-convener of Bring Back Our Girls, former Minister of Education and former Vice President of the World Bank. Thank you for staying with us on the program. Just to add this to the point you were making before we went on that break. Now, we have seen what played out with the Kankara boys. You have clamored for the rescue of the Chibok girls, of Leah Sharibu. And yet again, in that tweet, the series of tweets you put out, you made a case for them. So with the government's handling of this abduction, what are your hopes for the over 100 Chibok schoolgirls yet to be rescued, as well as Leah Sharibu?
Now, before I go on to answer your question, I need to make a very important point on that caveat that you put to my speeches on your program. There is nowhere in the world where the television house does that to a guest. So please stop that. You should never do that. If you invited me as a guest, I'm speaking according to the questions you're asking me. Don't give that kind of a caveat. It is totally not correct. I have spoken on the basis of the facts that are out there. This is my speech. I am quite appalled that the Nigerian media would be so cowed by this administration that you now begin to do this to your guests on your station. That should never happen again. Now, to the question that you asked about Chibok girls and Leah Sharibu. Is it not a tragedy that a government that promised that it would recover Chibok girls within the 6 months of its becoming a government in this country has, up until today, not recovered 112 of those girls? But even more tragic is that this government has refused to give any form of update on the status of those girls to their parents. Ask this administration when anyone was last in touch with the Chibok girls and their community. The community of Chibok continue to cry that no closure has happened on their children. We have heard from people who work in the security sector of the country that most of the girls are dead. Has the country decided that that is the truth? And in other words, has the government of President Buhari decided that that is the truth? Why is it not speaking to the parents of the girls? Why is it not mounting a continuing operation to rescue the girls? Why has it abandoned the necessary status report on the situation of those girls to the public? On Leah Sharibu, the president should have an even greater need to rescue Leah Sharibu. Leah Sharibu was held back when 105 of her classmates were rescued, were released to the president. When they were released to the president, those children said that Leah Sharibu was kept back because she refused to renounce her faith. Now, if the president were truly a president to foster inclusion in this society, that would have made him even more determined to ensure that a Christian child is not left with terrorists simply because she refused to convert. I have been told by good, serious Muslims that nothing in their Quran says you force a person to convert to Islam. What is the president doing? Not speaking to the Charibus about their daughter. What is he doing? Being comfortable almost 7 years into his administration after gaining the second term. This president has nothing to say about these young women, 113 of them, including some aid workers that also were abducted at various times. Now, this same government does not do anything sensible, does not even give us any, does not think that they owe the public accountability on Chibok girls and Leah Sharibu. And then suddenly, these young men are taken in Kankara. The president just happens to be visiting Daura at the same time. And then in a matter of days, we thank God that these young men are brought back. And they still haven't told us, how did this young man come back? What did you do? What transaction led to their being released? And in that, I saw something where the vice principal was said to have said that nobody is missing. My goodness, that's massive success. We need exactly the same success for Chibok girls, for Leah Charibu. If the president fails to do that, just let us know that he chooses not to do it. There is a capacity to do it that we now see in what has happened in Kankara. Now, what we want to see is a willingness to do it. What is good for Kankara boys is good for Leah Charibu and is good for the remaining 112 Chibok girls. That's what all Nigerians must say to our president.
Well, Dr. Obi, just to be clear, there was no pun intended in the statement made earlier, which is why we gave you the platform, as we usually do, to express your minds. And we appreciate you for always doing that. Now, still on that issue, now the boys are back and they've gone through a lot. We saw a video of the boys in the forest and one of them was speaking and we saw they were visibly distraught. So in terms of resettling them, psychosocial support, what should it be like? Because yes, a lot of people want to know what exactly happened with them in the forest, but there's a future ahead for these children. Some of them might be going through PTSD. So how exactly should we help them to deal with this?
There are experts trained in that. And, for Chibok girls and for other victims of abduction, over the time that as we campaigned for them, we had to learn some of these things. Not everybody can handle psychosocial support for children. When those children were rescued last night, the most and first important thing that they needed to do was to get a hug from their parents. I'm not sure whether that has happened. I saw pictures of these children waiting for the president. What's that? What are they waiting for the president to do? Why do you want to showcase children that have just been through trauma? So what all of this is about is some grandstanding that some great achievement has happened. Other countries are busy figuring out how to do a post-COVID or a second spike of COVID situation. We're dealing with the issue of our children who should have been protected coming back, and the president sits in his royal majesty and they're waiting for him. Those children need to get the deepest hug, the longest hugs from their parents. Then their parents and the psychosocial experts need to walk them through the process of, get deprogramming them from the kind of trauma and fear that they faced when they thought that their lives were going to be taken. And then the third part would be to get them to the place where they don't associate education, the school environment, with terror. You need to be able to do that. And everybody around them would need to show them the kind of love that makes them know how valuable they are. Because even in the 5 days that they were with the fellows that took them, there could have been some form of indoctrination or the other, and you don't need that to fester. So these are things that are systematically done, and they have to be well designed as a package that will be offered to them as well as to their parents. As you probably know, many of our Chibok girls' parents died over the course of the 6 years. I think at last count, there were about 21 parents that died, without seeing their children.
Well, Dr. Obi, so much issues to raise, but I think the silver lining will be, hopefully someday we'll get to have a conversation with you around the rescue of the Chibok girls and Leah Charibu. But I would like to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program today. We've been speaking with Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, the co-convener of Bring Back Our Girls. Thank you once again.
Thank you so very much. Have a good evening.
And you too. Well, that's the program for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikulu.